We are standing at the Boy and His Dog sculpture, or Storrow Memorial. It's a statue by Cyrus Dallin, located in the beautiful Lincoln Cemetery on Lexington Road in Lincoln, Massachusetts. The statue was commissioned in 1923 by philanthropist Helen Osborne Storrow of Lincoln and Boston in anticipation of her husband James Jackson Storrow II's forthcoming death. James had been diagnosed with an aggressive malignant tumor in his neck for which there was no cure. He died in 1926. In a letter to Dallin, Helen expressed her wishes for a memorial that would reflect the couple's non-traditional spirituality and also serve as a source of comfort and inspiration to others. The Storrows spent much of their free time outdoors, spending many weekends in the open, exploring, canoeing, and hiking. Their first home was in Beacon Hill, but they fell in love with the town of Lincoln, Massachusetts, and decided to build their second home here in 1905, a 3-story, 39-room brick mansion surrounded by 16 acres of open and wooded land. Nearly 5 miles away in Arlington, Massachusetts, sculptor Cyrus Dallin began designing Boy and His Dog in 1923 and completed it in 1925. In her letter to Dallin, Helen wrote, "I should think some figure emblematic of the spirit of out-of-doors would be appropriate and suitable for us. I am sure you will make us a beautiful one that will have spirituality so that religious people will like it, and at the same time it would be suitable for people like us who have no fixed religious faith in the sense of believing in the dogmas of any church." Dallin created a 46.5-inch sculpture that portrays a young man and his dog, looking fondly at the boy as the young lad crouches and reaches to pluck a flower. Originally placed in a wooded area on the Storrow estate, this bronze work is now a beautiful, calming beacon to visitors at the Lincoln Cemetery. The Storrows are interred just a few feet north of the monument, overlooking a picturesque pond. The posture of the boy in the Storrow Memorial is similar to another Cyrus Dallin statue, the Menominee Hunter near the Town Hall in Arlington. Like the young man in the Storrow masterpiece, Menominee Hunter is crouching down to scoop up a drink of water after a successful hunting trip. The Storrow Memorial is inscribed with a quote by English poet Alfred Lord Tennyson from his poem Flower in the Crannied Wall. The quote reads, "Little flower, if I could understand what you are, root and all in all, I should know what God and man is." The sculpture rests on a rough-hewn granite stone that is 6 feet high. There are similarities between this work and a 1903 sculpture of Tennyson created by George Frederick Watts, located on the grounds of Lincoln Cathedral in England. Watts's sculpture contains the full text of the poem. It also has a man with an attentive dog, but in this case, the man is Tennyson himself. James and Helen Storrow were born into families of great privilege and accomplishments, and each saw that privilege as an opportunity to lead and give back. They were committed to causes ranging from historical preservation to education and social support for less fortunate immigrants in the New World, desperately seeking a new life. Mr. Storrow was born in 1864. He was raised in Beacon Hill and attended Noble School, Harvard College, and Harvard Law School. He became a highly successful and influential investment banker who rose to become the 3rd president of General Motors and the 2nd national president of the Boy Scouts of America. He was also a candidate for mayor of Boston in 1909. In 1901, Storrow spearheaded a campaign to dam the Charles River and create the Charles River Basin, as well as to preserve and improve the riverbanks as a public park. The Massachusetts legislature approved the dam in 1903, and it was completed in 1910. Mrs. Storrow, Helen, was born in Auburn, New York in 1864. Her mother was a socially conscious Quaker, her father a manufacturer. Her great-aunt was famous abolitionist and women's rights advocate Lucretia Mott. Helen attended boarding school in Springfield, Massachusetts, and met James Storrow while hiking in Switzerland in 1882. They married 8 years later in 1891 and moved to Beacon Hill. James and Helen's only child, James Jackson Storrow III, was born in 1892. Helen was an active philanthropist and leader who was involved in a number of causes. She chaired the Girl Scouts World Committee and was a generous patron to the Boston Girl Scouts. Ms. Storrow donated $1 million to the state of Massachusetts to complete the development of the Charles River Basin, in which her husband had been involved in prior to his death. It was largely due to the efforts of Helen and James Storrow that the Charles River Basin was landscaped and turned into a recreational area during the 1930s. To quote Storrow's son, James Storrow III, the biographer and author of the book Son of New England, James Jackson Storrow, "No two people ever saw more completely eye to eye in all the things that count. They constituted a perfect partnership." Though the Storrows and Dallins came from different backgrounds, their lives may have intersected in other ways. Both Helen Storrow and Cyrus Dallin's wife, Victoria, were active in women's clubs and passionate about supporting the arts. James Storrow was active with the Boy Scouts, and Cyrus Dallin was made honorary Eagle Scout after speaking to Scouts of his boyhood in Springville, Utah, and how his friendship with indigenous members of the Ute tribe guided his lifelong sense of social justice and heavily influenced his art. Cyrus Dallin was at the peak of his career when he was commissioned to create Boy and His Dog, and it comes as no surprise that Mrs. Storrow would specifically reach out to him to commission this timeless masterpiece. Looking back nearly a century later, it's clear that Helen Storrow and Cyrus Dallin both managed to leave behind a legacy of character and faith. Together, they also constituted a perfect partnership.